Hello, my friends. Now we are live. My name is Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be making some bracelets that my daughters are going to sell at their special homeschool co-op crafting sales event. Anyway, I'm going to make bracelets while we're going to chit chat about Sebastian Rogers. Now, Sebastian Rogers is a missing 15-year-old boy. He's autistic and he's from Tennessee, right? Here's the deal. We are not going to send any hate to any of the family members, any of the people, even if we suspect people for one reason or another. We're not going to bother them on social media. We're not going to show up to their house in person, right, guys? We're just discussing the facts of the case and my opinions, which are not facts. So first we're going to discuss the facts of the case. Then we're going to discuss some of my opinions. And we're not going to send hate to any of the people because we ultimately, the reason I'm doing this is to get his name out there, get his picture out there. Because the thing is, Sebastian Rogers, yes, his name has been said a lot. His picture's been put out a lot, but he's still not found. And so maybe this will help. Maybe. I don't know. We're going to discuss it. So we're going to discuss the facts of the case, my opinions, which are not facts. I'm not a professional in this. We're just doing this for entertainment purposes, right? All right. So I'm going to share with you an article. Keep in mind, this article was written on April 2nd or 3rd. And he went missing on February 25th. I'm making this video on April 30th, right? So I know some updated information, but this just kind of gives us an overview of the facts of the case, and I'll update you with more information. If I'm looking down at all, it's because I'm sitting here making these bracelets while we chit chat. But I'm going to read this article a little bit. So Sebastian Rogers, what we know about 15-year-old's disappearance in Tennessee, right? The autistic teenager that has been missing for a month. Now it's been very close to 2 months. Well, actually, no, officially 2 months now because he went missing February 25th and it's April 30th. So he's been missing for over 2 months now. 2 months and 5 days, actually. So he's been missing for a month, now 2 months, with his mother now saying she believes someone took her son. Oh, interesting. So that's the mother's theory. All right. So here we go. This is a picture of the landfill they were searching at the time. Nothing came up. They didn't find anything in the landfill necessarily. That doesn't mean there wasn't something overlooked or missed, right? The morning Sebastian Rogers went missing. Now, again, keep in mind, okay, another thing I want to say is when they're talking about the morning he went missing, all of this is from the perspective of the mother with no other people present, right? So what we know from like physical evidence that we can see with our own eyes is that the night before, okay, February 25th, he was last seen on camera at Texas Roadhouse at dinner with his mom, right? So his mom was admittedly the last one to see him, but she says she saw him before bed and didn't see him in the morning. So, yeah. All right. Okay. So let's keep reading. So again, so when we hear about the morning of, this is her perspective. Let's go. All right. The morning Sebastian Rogers went missing from his Tennessee home started out as a normal day, his mother recalled. But when Katie Proudfoot went to wake her 15-year-old son up for school on the morning of February 26th, his bed was empty and he was nowhere to be found. Sebastian, who has high functioning autism, is described by his mother as being very smart and not a mischievous child by any means. State and local authorities searched for Sebastian for more than a week. After the search was scaled back A new search effort led investigators across state lines to a Kentucky landfill. An Amber Alert was issued to track down the teenager and bring him home safely, but so far he has not yet been found. There he is, picture with his puppies. Here's what we know so far. Sebastian's disappearance. Sebastian has not been seen in person or on camera since his disappearance on February 26th. Okay, so I guess February 26th is the last day he was seen on camera. Okay. His mother, Katie Proudfoot, and stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, spoke to the media for the first time on Monday, March 4th, 8 days after he went missing. Miss Proudfoot told WSMV the family went to sleep at their home in Hendersonville the night before he vanished. But when they woke up the morning of February 26th, he was gone. When Miss Proudfoot found her son's bed empty, she called her husband, who was at work. I can't find him, she said. And when he asked, "What do you mean you can't find him?" she replied, "He's not in the house." Miss Proudfoot said she searched the entire house but couldn't find him. "My son doesn't run. He's not a runner. He's never run away before," she said, addressing the possibility that he could have wandered off. "I don't know why he walked out that door." The search for Sebastian. A massive search has been underway for Sebastian for 5 weeks, with state and local authorities utilizing helicopters, drones, and search and rescue dogs for the first 8 days. Authorities even blasted his favorite song, "Eye of the Tiger," while searching in different areas to try to call him out. I didn't know they did that. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office said, but there still has been no sign of Sebastian. What touches me about that is my son's autistic. He's 4. And when he goes missing in the house or I can't find him, I will play like his favorite song or his favorite show on my phone. Like he went missing when we were at a play date at a friend's house. We could not find him anywhere in that house. Then I started playing his favorite show on my phone and he came out of hiding, right? So that's just, as a mother of an autistic child, this story really stands out to me, right? Okay. The search was scaled back as authorities transitioned to the investigative side of the case. The sheriff's office said that investigators are now working on eliminating and drumming up leads. Authorities added that Sebastian's family has been cooperative with the investigation. Days later, authorities were spotted combing through the landfill where the trash from the teens' neighborhood ended up, according to the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Officials called the search of the landfill a precautionary measure to eliminate possible options and questions. Okay, so one thing I want to add is the reason that they're searching the landfill that I heard, and I could be wrong, it's possible, but I heard on one video that they said that the the trash that was collected that morning, the trash truck driver said that their trash can was extra heavy that day. So they just want to make sure his body wasn't like disposed of in there, heaven forbid, right? Um Kentucky State Police spokesperson Ridge Porter told WKRN that detectives had obtained a search warrant for the Hopkins County Regional Landfill in White Plains. Aerial video footage from the local news outlets captured a white tarp covering parts of the landfill area while officers were seen digging through the trash for clues. On Saturday, 23rd, March 23rd, the volunteer organization, the United Cajun Navy, announced it was deploying a team to aid in the search for Sebastian. A post on Facebook, the group said it was working with local officials and urged those interested in the case to be patient when asking for new information. The group later suspended its in-person searches, saying it had received death threats. In a report on Tuesday, March 26th, the director of Sumner County's Emergency Operations Center, Ken Widener, said that from ponds to homes to woodland, hundreds of people had scoured the area. We've had close to 1,500 searches, Mr. Widener told News Channel 5. We've got 1,350 documented, and then we have additional people. I'm sure we have got more on the public safety side. The first 2 days, we logged 2,000 search miles, and we haven't had enough time to extrapolate all of this, he said, referring to the data on the huge screen. It's probably going to be 10, 12,000 miles searched. Wow, that's a lot. In an update on April 2nd, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said they had not forgotten about Sebastian. Sorry. We're all extremely concerned for Sebastian's welfare, SCSO Chief Deputy Eric Craddock began the briefing, saying that despite no sightings, the commitment to finding the boy remains unwavering. At the briefing, the chief deputy was asked about a pair of glasses reportedly found. There were some glasses found in the last few days, Mr. Craddock said, adding that his office was still investigating who they belonged to. Later on, they confirmed that it was most likely not his glasses, but that was a hopeful moment when they found those glasses that were similar enough to his to bag and tag them, but then later kind of confirmed they're not exactly the same ones, right? The chief deputy thanked the Hendersonville community for sending in over 300 tips on the case, as well as getting involved in the search and printing flyers with Sebastian's face on it. There has still been no signs of Sebastian, however. Parents speak out. I just want my baby to be okay. Sebastian's mother and stepfather spoke out about their son's disappearance for the first time 8 days after he went missing. I don't wish this on anyone, his mother told WSMV. Anyone. On one constant roller coaster ride of helplessness and hopelessness, Chris Proudfoot, the stepfather, added many other emotions all in one. It's a never-ending world. Because it doesn't stop. Okay. Whatever. Sorry. The couple has received backlash for not speaking out earlier, to which they said they shouldn't be judged because no one knows what they're going through. You don't know, and I don't wish you to ever know, they said Just be kind to people. It's just that simple. There's answers to questions right now that we are searching for desperately, and we just don't have that, his stepfather added. Sebastian's mother, who said she is just hoping to bring her son home safely, had a message for him. We love you so much, and we want you to come home, and you're not in trouble, she said. I just want my baby to be okay. In another interview with the YouTube channel Chronicles of Olivia, Mr. and Ms. Proudfoot explained more about the night Sebastian vanished. Katie explained that evening her son took out the trash at the end of the driveway as his usual chore, and then around 9 p.m. he was told to go to bed. Okay, here's one thing I want to say about this. There are cameras showing that someone took out the trash, but those cameras are so far away in such poor quality, and it was nighttime, right? All you can tell basically is a flashlight, right? You can't tell who it was taking out the trash, so we cannot confirm that that was Sebastian. We can neither confirm nor deny that that was Sebastian, right? So I just want to point that out. So we know for sure he was at Texas Roadhouse. We have video footage of that. But the video footage that there is of someone taking out the trash, we cannot clearly say who in the world that was because it's just basically all you see is a flashlight. Now, I say that because the stepfather saw the video footage. I have not personally seen the video footage, but that's what the stepfather said. You can tell on the camera. Okay? Okay. Keep it going. Katie explained that evening. Okay, sorry. I already read that part. He was doing something in his room because around an hour later, I heard some noise and I was like, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep. Miss Proudfoot recalled on the channel. At 6 o'clock, I went to wake him up for school Monday morning, and that's when he wasn't there. A further interview released on... Okay, let's just give a little time frame. So she's saying the last time she physically saw him was around 9 p.m. on February 26th, okay? Last time seen on camera was that evening at Texas Roadhouse when they went to dinner, right? Okay. So, but she says when she went to look for him at 6 o'clock in the morning, he wasn't there. Okay. Some people have been critical of, oh, she heard a noise. She should have checked on him. I hear my kids making noise in their room every night. And all the time, I talk to them through the door and I say, go to sleep, you know. I don't always check. Some people have been critical of that and said, oh, how could a mother not check on her son when she heard a crash or heard a bang or heard something? My kid kicks the wall all the time. If I open the door, he's going to come out the door. So I'll just talk to him through the door, you know. Now, that being said, my kids are littler, but still, like, I mean, even more so for a teenager, like, hey, go to bed, you know. Just saying. Okay. Katie explained that evening to her son. Okay, sorry. In a further interview released on March 25th, Katie Proudfoot said she believed someone had taken her son. I feel that if he had been close to home or had wandered off, that we would have found him by now, with so many people as have been searching, Ms. Proudfoot told Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, also spoke that same night, explaining that he had not had contact with the Proudfoots in around 2 weeks. He also said that he was not giving up hope in finding his son, having spent several days searching for him. Amber Alert issued. The Texas Bureau of Investigation, TBI, originally issued an endangered child alert for Sebastian on the morning of February 26th. Okay, so it is February 25th. Okay. So it is February. Okay, I keep changing my notes over here. So he was last seen physically on the 25th. They issued the Amber Alert on the 26th. Okay, this article is going back and forth about which date, right? On the 27th, the alert was elevated to an Amber Alert based on additional investigative information developed during the search. An Amber Alert is issued when there's reasonable belief by law enforcement that an abduction has occurred and the child is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death, according to the DOJ. So there we go. He is 5'5", 120 pounds. He's got brown eyes and brown hair and glasses. Okay. Multiple agencies are involved in the search for Sebastian, including the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Tennessee Highway Patrol, Nashville Fire Department, City of Hendersonville First Responders, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, and Shackle Island Volunteer Fire. Anyone with information on Sebastian's whereabouts is encouraged to contact Sumner County Sheriff's Office Detective Carter. That's the phone number. All right. Oh, hi, Teacher Kelly's watching. What's up? Or she was. So right now it says nobody's watching, but that's okay. Hi, Teacher Kelly. So Sebastian Rogers. We're going to talk about a few more facts and things that aren't adding up, in my opinion. Right? So we just shared all the facts, and we're going to share a bit of my opinions, okay? Do not send hate to any of these people. Any opinions of mine are just theories that I'm throwing out there. Okay. As a mother of an autistic child, one thing we have to be, it's important for me to communicate with you, is that autistic children can elope. What is eloping? Eloping is running and going and going and going and going and not turning around and coming back. Think the movie Forrest Gump, right? Forrest Gump, possibly autistic, I don't know. But he just got upset. He just started running one day, right? My son Caleb, one time, he's 4, but this is when he was 3. He went missing. I couldn't find him anywhere in the house. I didn't think there was a possibility that he got out of the house, but I couldn't find him anywhere in the house. So I told my kids, keep looking in the house. I'm going to drive around the neighborhood calling his name. So I drove around the neighborhood, asked a few people that were walking their dogs or were in the neighborhood, have you seen like a little boy? And I'm pretty sure he was in a blue shirt or whatever. And nobody had seen him. And so my heart is racing. Oh my goodness, what if this was the last time I ever saw my son? So terrified, freaked out. I get home. My son was asleep underneath his bed. But that's when I ordered doorknob covers for all my doors because he knows how to unlock doors and open doorknobs. And so it's my job to keep him safe, right? So my son has gone missing, but he's never gone missing outside of the house, okay? But that was my fear, my scary moment. Also, at a play date at a friend's house, we could not find him. But we checked the doors. There was no way he had opened any of the exit doors. So we knew he was somewhere in the house. So we were looking everywhere, couldn't find him. I started playing his favorite show on my phone, and he came out of hiding. He was in one of the locked bedrooms that we had locked, so we didn't even check it. But one of the kids must have unlocked it at some point, and then he went in and it locked behind him, or he locked it or something. I don't know. But he came out of a locked door. At the park, we go to parks that are completely fenced in, but there have been moments even in a fenced in park where I'm like, where's Caleb? Where's Caleb? I can't find him. Looked everywhere in the park, and then there he is behind the seesaw. We didn't see him there. You know what I mean? Like he's blocked from view. Just those moments are so terrifying because I go, what if I'm never going to see my baby again? I need to find him. And the thing is, he sometimes responds to his name, but sometimes he doesn't. I could be screaming his name. He might not necessarily respond, right? So here's some more facts about Sebastian. Now, Sebastian, they referred to him in the article as high functioning. High-ish functioning. I think Sebastian's middle of the road. Okay, so when talking about autistic children, oftentimes we say nonverbal. So Sebastian was not nonverbal. He spoke and talked and stuff like that. But he was not so high functioning. His there's proof for this, so this isn't opinion. His physically abusive stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, made him wear pull-ups when he was at their house because of accidents that he had when he was sleeping. But he didn't have those accidents when he was at his dad's house, Seth Rogers. And so at his dad's house, he got to wear boxers, right? So he was, maybe had some accidents in an abusive home, the mother, bless her heart, okay? Katie Proudfoot. I want to tread lightly when talking about her because there's a possibility that she is a mother that is missing her son and she desperately wants to find him. But as well, we have to look at the fact that she was the last one seen with him. And she left her home and went 3 hours away to be with her husband during the time the search was going on. And as a mother, I can't imagine doing that, but that's just me. Maybe she was receiving death threats that we don't know about. Maybe she felt unsafe in her own home. Maybe she felt more comforted going elsewhere. I have no idea. Okay. We know that the father, Seth Rogers, did not abduct his son. Here's how we know. That evening that he went missing, Seth Rogers was on shift working at the jail, and he was on camera. He was clocked in and everything the whole time. So the whole evening that supposedly he went missing, there's no way that it was his father that took him. Also, his father, Seth Rogers, has been leading up so many search parties. He's been desperately looking for his son. And they're no longer searching, but now, because it's been 2 months, they've looked everywhere, basically. They've drained ponds. They've looked everywhere and no sign of him. And so now they're doing prayer vigils. They're holding prayer vigils for him, and they're still saying, please hand out flyers, please get his name out there. He's still doing interviews. So in my opinion, these are opinions, not facts. My opinions are not facts. In my opinion, Seth Rogers is showing what it looks like to be a parent that is looking desperately for his son. Whereas Katie and Chris Proudfoot have been on more of a hiding from the public, and when they talk, It's more of a defensive rather than an active pleading with the public, please return my son, please help me find my son. It's more of a defensive of like, we didn't do it, which to me raises some questions. Maybe not necessarily red flags, but some questions. Now, here's another thing. There's a few odd things that I want to point out, and maybe they're just odd facts of the case that are not as bad as they look, right? So let's just talk about the odd facts of the case, right? Okay. Aside from the fact that the trash can was extra heavy that day. Hello, somebody's watching. Hello. Aside from the fact that the trash can supposedly was extra heavy that day, right? Katie Proudfoot took her son to a whole bunch of his favorite places that night. Now, it wasn't his birthday, it wasn't a special occasion. So, was she premeditating something? Again, if it turns out in the future that she had no part, I apologize for even speculating, but we don't know. We always have to look at the last person to physically see them as a possibility of something having happened with that person, right? So I'm sorry, she's the mother. I feel guilty and bad saying this, but she took him a whole bunch of fun places. She took him to Texas Roadhouse for dinner. She took him to Colossal Popcorn. She took him bowling. I think there was more places she took him. It just sounded like a whole lot of places to take him. And wow, that would be a really spectacular birthday or celebration. But what were they celebrating? So the other fact of the case is Chris Proudfoot was at a job site 3 hours away, right? The stepfather, who we know for a fact was on his 5th marriage at his young age. I think he's like in his 40s, right? On his 5th marriage, has been physically abusive with former stepchildren and has been physically abusive with Sebastian. Okay? Because he admittedly uses the belt on his stepson, his special needs stepson. He's not even the biological parent. He has used a belt on his special needs. If anyone ever got a belt anywhere near my special needs child, they would never see his face again. I cannot even. That's where I lose a little bit of sympathy for Katie, because she stayed with someone who was that way towards her special needs son. As a mother, it doesn't matter if you have to go to a homeless shelter. You do not stay with a husband who physically abuses your children. End of story. Point. Period. That's where I start to lose sympathy for Katie Proudfoot. I'm sorry, Katie, if you watch this ever. I hope you find your son. I'm not okay with that situation. Okay? That's just me personally. If anyone ever threatened a belt on any of my children, especially my special needs child, oh my goodness, you would have to get between I would be between you and my child. That is not okay. All right, at all. Anyway, that is neither here nor there. Okay. So he worked 3 hours away, right? Well, Katie Proudfoot, the mother, and Chris Proudfoot, the stepfather, they had a 3-hour long, logged in the books, there's proof of it, 3-hour long phone conversation last night. That night that he went missing. So the question is, why did they have a 3-hour phone conversation? Did they have a marriage that they didn't trust each other not to cheat, so they had to be on the phone with each other? Did they have a marriage where they just loved each other so much they couldn't get enough of each other? They just had to chit-chat so long into the night so much. Was there something bad that happened that they were discussing? Or was this phone call a phone conversation that was set to the side and used as an alibi for the location of Chris Proudfoot. Now, Chris Proudfoot was at work on Monday morning, but he admittedly, in an interview just recently, said when he was questioned about why did Katie do so many special things with Sebastian the night that he went missing, Chris Proudfoot said, listen, we're a family that has school and work Monday through Friday, and some weekends he's with his dad, some weekends he's with his mom. So the only special thing was, they weren't working and they didn't have school, and he doesn't do sports or anything. So, they were just hanging out, right? They were having their mother-son time. Okay, cool, fair enough, right? Fair enough. That was his excuse. But in saying that excuse, right, that reasoning, right, in saying that reasoning, he himself admitted that he had the weekend off of work. So even though he was working 3 hours away on Monday morning, it's completely feasible and possible that he could have been home. Now we know he wasn't at Texas Roadhouse or at Colossal Popcorn or at the bowling alley because there was cameras there and it was just Katie and her son. But we do not know for a fact that Chris Proudfoot was not in town sometime that evening, and he could have easily driven the 3 hours to work, and then in the morning he's at work, right? Another thing that is very alarming and different about this case as opposed to other ones is if my kid is missing and I can't find him anywhere, when I couldn't find him in the house, then I started looking in the neighborhood, I was really thinking, okay, if this goes on much longer, I'm going to dial 911 and I need to find my baby, Katie Proudfoot did not herself dial 911. On a 3-way phone call with her husband that was 3 hours away, he dialed the sheriff's office and they spoke with an officer, right? So did they do this so the call would not be recorded? We don't know. Maybe the call was recorded. Did they do this so they could track the location of Chris Proudfoot, but they could not track the location of Katie Proudfoot? Interesting thought. We don't know the reasoning, right? But we know that when officers responded, Katie Proudfoot, returned home from her search, right? Searching for her son. So it's hard to know. On an interview recently, the physically abusive stepfather, and I can say that because we know that for a fact, he personally has admitted to taking a belt to his son. Now, his father, Seth Rogers, did not know this until after he went missing, or he too would not have allowed his son around someone physically abusive. But Chris Proudfoot, I forgot where my train of thought crashed. Sorry. Chris and Katie Proudfoot broke their silence 8 days after their son had been missing for a long time. In their interview, Katie wipes away tears that were not there. She was crying without tears, which can be a red flag, but I mean, who knows? She was rocking back and forth. She was red in the face, but she's kind of like, I don't know if she's a redhead, but she's fair-skinned like me. And she let her husband do most of the talking, even though he supposedly was not present, was not there. Why was he answering all of the questions for her? Maybe she was too distraught to answer them herself. But since then, the 2 months since then, they've been pretty radio silent. Until just recently, when Katie Proudfoot finally, in an interview, talked about, oh, she had a picture of Sebastian on her shirt. She was talking about help me find my son. But it was a very short conversation, and she said, oh, he runs funny, goofy, and she didn't give like a lot of details. She didn't plead for someone to return him. It, it was an odd interview. Oh, I remember what my train of thought was going to be. All right, so Chris Proudfoot was recently in a 3-hour interview with Seth Rogers and a private investigator and I think a YouTuber or someone. And they were discussing all the questions of the case, right? So they asked, was a 3-hour phone conversation normal for you, right? And he didn't really answer that question. He kind of avoided it. They asked, was it normal that Katie took him so many places? He was like, yeah, it was normal for us, because it was a weekend and we worked during the week, not the weekend. And have school and work during the week. And so the weekend we have off. Chris Proudfoot got extremely, extremely, extremely angry and threatening and scary during that interview, getting really, really mad. And we saw his true colors, and he's on his 5th marriage for a reason, right? And a lot of his past wives have said he was physically abusive with his past stepchildren, right? And his wives. And he just got absolutely irate in that conversation, and it made me, if I was in the room with him, I would be scared for my life. Now there is footage on a camera, I think from, I don't know if it's footage or eyewitness, but there was a time that Sebastian hid from his stepdad, hid kind of behind a cash register at a grocery store. It just breaks my heart. No one should have to hide from their parent out of fear. And step parents, especially, I think, should never lay a finger on their stepkids, right? Or a belt, for that matter. So anyway, he was scared. I mean, again, he was 120 pounds, 5'5", right? So he was a little wimpy kid next to Chris Proudfoot, this big stepdad, right? So yeah, Sebastian Rogers, did he run away for one reason or another? Yeah, during that 3-hour interview, Chris Proudfoot tried to speculate that maybe Sebastian ran away because he didn't want to go live with his father, because they had been talking about he was going to go live with his father because Chris Proudfoot did not want Sebastian to live there anymore because he was putting a strain on their marriage, quote unquote, right? Because, having a special needs kiddo is challenging, all of the adults in the situation admit that sometimes he had outbursts, sometimes he threw fits, sometimes he was difficult to deal with, right? Sometimes he got overwhelmed, overstimulated, and had a rough time. That is a situation where you need very patient parents. You cannot have an abusive stepdad in a situation with a special needs child who sometimes has outbursts. That is like, you don't put gasoline and fire together, right? That's a bad combination. Now, we have no proof that Chris Proudfoot was in town, and so that shows Katie was the last one to see him. What happened to Sebastian Rogers? I don't know. Here are the possibilities. It's possible that he was hurt and disposed of somewhere. It's possible that he was dropped off somewhere. and he wandered off himself, it's possible that he left his home, but without, oh, here's another thing. Here's another factor. Without shoes. He owned 3 pairs of shoes. None of his shoes were gone from the house. My autistic son hates shoes, but he's 4, you know. Sometimes autistic children have gone missing without shoes on, but like Sebastian, his dad said that was odd. You know, he wouldn't have left the house. He left the house with a flashlight, but without shoes. That's a very autistic thing to do. So when I heard that, I was like, that's pretty autistic. I don't know. That's very weird that he left the house with no shoes. That also limits how far he could have gone. I mean, how far would you go barefoot? I've seen personally video of a teenage boy that was autistic and nonverbal, so lower functioning, right? I don't like functioning language, I'm sorry, because that's originating from Nazi Germany. Anyway, lower on the more struggling on the spectrum. I don't know how to say it. But he this is a different teenage boy. He ran off in the woods barefoot and injured his feet, and a police officer gave him a piggyback ride out of this marshy woods where he had wandered off into, right? And I so could relate to that because I have a 4-year-old autistic son, and we are really working on potty training, and we are really, really working on walking next to mama, holding my hand. We are working on wearing shoes. Wearing shoes is a struggle for Caleb. I'm talking about my son now. My 4-year-old autistic son hates shoes, right? Hates shoes. Loves to feel everything with his toes and his feet, right? He's finally getting used to wearing shoes. That's something we're working on, right? So when I heard, oh my goodness, he left his home barefoot with a flashlight, that's just a very autistic thing to do, man. But that stood out to his dad as something that's really strange, you know? The door was locked behind him. So some people have speculated maybe Katie got mad at him and locked him out of the house, and then he wandered off from there. We don't know. Another story comes to mind that this one teenage boy, I think he was 18 when he went missing. He wasn't found for like a couple of years, states away, and he was nonverbal autistic. And he had been living like basically homeless and surviving, which is amazing. All that time. So could this be a situation where he is just off on his own and we'll find him when we find him? I don't know. There's always a possibility. There's always hope, right? But my gut tells me that Katie knows more than she's letting on. And please forgive me if I'm wrong, right? My gut tells me that Chris Proudfoot is capable of murder. And he was even like threatening in the interview. Like, if you can't keep it together with an interview with professional adults, how are you behind closed doors with a child? You know? Like, if you can't keep your cool in a professional interview, how are you behind closed doors with your own family? Right? Chris Proudfoot is a dangerous man. And I don't know if he encouraged Katie to do something while he was on his 3-hour phone conversation, or I don't know if maybe he helped do something. I don't know if Sebastian wandered off. I don't know if he ended up in a pond or a body of water, because that happens a lot with autistic children. They drained a pond to try to see if... Okay, the other thing is lots of dogs, search dogs, have kind of like followed this a lot of search dogs have been used. A few of them followed the same trail to leading to a nearby pond. right? That pond has been drained. They didn't find anything. But, with dogs, it's hard to know, right? It's hard to know. Anyway, that's all the information that we know right now. And I just hope that they find Sebastian Rogers. I just hope that they find him. Anyway, I'm going to say a prayer. Dear Lord, I just pray that Sebastian Rogers would be found. And I pray that justice would be served. And I pray that he would be safe. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.